Alright, so got the couch moved back in place. Miss Maddie over here is helping me tidy up. I've got still chunks here, but the shop vac's sucking things up. So we'll have this level cleared off in no time. Look at that good worker. Okay, so we're getting things swept up slowly but surely, organized. We'll be wiring here in no time. Okay, so thanks to Miss Madeline here, we got everything tidied up, vacuumed. It's a lot easier to breathe in here. We're not kicking up insulation dust. Sweetie, just leave those sit. Alright, so anyhow, ready to start running some wiring. Alright, so I cut this piece of 3/4 ply. It's going to become a backer right here that's going to hold the relays for automotive lighting right by where they're going to come out of the electronics cabinet there. So there'll be a backer there, and it'll end up being sort of the back of a little cubby when we're done. Okay, so what we're going to do now is set this wood in place in that slot. We're going to drill holes, and I got these very long grip rivets. These are what I'm going to use to hold all the plywood to walls. I'm going to basically use these for the first layer of plywood. It'll be rough 1/2-inch plywood most places. It's going to hold to the hat channels, and I'll probably put washers behind. I'm not going to do that on the 3/4 because of the grip length, but we'll put washers behind, and then what will happen is the plywood will be held to the hat channels. There'll be a wiring channel up top, and then I'm going to use 1/4-inch plywood of a nicer grade as the finished plywood over top of the first layer. So that'll become our walls. But what I'm doing here is trying to build a backer for the automotive wiring that I'm going to be running. It's going to be run centrally to this location. Okay, so I've got one rivet in. I'm trying to drill the next hole, but using an old bit, and it just isn't cutting the mustard. It's not very sharp, and the metal's pretty tough, so I got to find my bits that I know are around here somewhere. Alright, so the backer board's sufficiently in place here. It's not going anywhere with those 3/4-inch rivets. So I'm going to screw some terminal blocks in place so we can start wiring tomorrow. Alright, so we have the 12-volt wiring blocks for the marker and clearance and ID lamps here. What I'm going to do is I'll mount this other block. This is a 7-pole stop tail turn block, using higher quality because those ones are much more important for safety. And it's going to go right in here. There'll be one in the engine compartment as well. And then we'll use the original pigtail from through that gap. I have the pigtail over in the pavilion being stored, and we'll use that original pigtail to terminate on these blocks. And then I'll just run a wire to the back of the bus underneath the floors with 7 conductors to go to that other block where we'll hit the turn signals and whatnot. So I have to look at the front ones. I'll probably have to wire the resistors for the LED turn signals in line in the front, and then I'll likely wire them here with an aluminum heat sink of some sort because they're supposedly able to get pretty hot. So we'll have those in between this junction box and these wiring blocks. So hopefully below, right about here, where we'll have a cubby, I'll be able to get all this automotive wiring sort of hidden underneath, and then we'll put some kind of a protective cover over it. It'll just kind of be tucked away behind the driver's seat. Okay, so I'm back at the bus. It's kind of a dreary Sunday. I'm going to be working inside the bus on some heavy-duty hooks on the hat channels. Those will be for hanging backpacks or hammocks or whatever we want. I got those at Tractor Supply. I'm going to use riv nuts to put about 10 of them along the side up high on the walls.
I figured that way we could use them for a variety of things, just some really heavy duty hooks. And then I'm also going to be running the electrical wires today along the side of the bus for the automotive electric. And we'll see how far I get on that.
Okay, so I've started putting the first wire for automotive lighting out. I'm running ground through its own wire instead of through the frame of the bus or the skin of the bus. I've used some copper wire to build little hooks to temporarily hang this wire. Once I've got it all kind of in place and taped together neatly, I'll probably run some loom around it and wire the loom in place to protect the wire. So anyway, I'm going to keep at it. Okay, so I've got these little copper wire hooks running all the way down both sides of the bus. That'll be a part of the roof that I'm going to put a flat piece in this way from here to about here, and that'll leave a gap behind there for the automotive wiring. May also use it as a chase for other things like Ethernet cable, etc., for security cameras and whatnot. But anyhow, for right now, I am going to start stringing these wires and labeling them as I go. I think I'm going to put another terminal block midway through to save wire for these clearance lights, probably right here in the electrical, a little bit out of the way at the top here. So that ought to shorten the runs for the 8 lights in the back here. Okay, so I ran that first red rear clearance light on the left side or driver's side. Ran the wire down here. I got a positive block and a negative block. Also ground, your negative's your ground, on 12 volts. So I'm going to, at this point, label these wires as to which light they go to with the label maker. Okay, to pull wires through where the insulation is, I'm just poking a screwdriver through. I'll tape the wires to it and pull it back out. Okay, so that worked pretty well. Just tape it to the screwdriver, pull it back through the grommet there. So I'm using these adjustable wire strippers, automatic adjustment. They work really well for this kind of thing. Real simple. So I recommend those versus traditional electrical strippers with the holes like this one. So okay, so that's 2 punched down. I got the left rear and the left intermediate clearance. I think I'm going to wire the front clearance to the front block, and I'll just join the 2 blocks together. Okay, so I've made progress. I'm almost done with the right side. I just have the amber clearance in the front to put on here. I've also got the ID lamps run to this panel. I actually think I'm going to move the blocks that I had in the front over to here for the left side as well, and I'll drop down under the floor here on the edge and run everything over to that side in each direction. So I think wiring from the center ultimately saves a lot of wire. So anyhow, I'm going to keep going at it here. Okay, so I have the wiring run all on the right side, including the center ID lamps are also wired. Got it all coming back to the block here, running down the chase. I think the next thing I'm going to do is I have 50 feet of loom. I'm going to run loom along that top area to keep the wires together, and that will also allow me to later run additional wires than the loom. It's a fairly wide loom, so I'll split it right there, and as each wire comes out, it'll come out through the slit like this one here. So anyhow, I'll put the loom in, and I think that'll be it for today. But feel a sense of accomplishment here with all that wiring done. Okay, so now I have this black wire loom running all the way down. Actually, I thought I bought the slightly bigger one than this when I commented before. This is a 3/8, I believe. Should have bought a little bit bigger, but it does accommodate all the wires. I could also just lash other cables to it, like
you know, the Ethernet runs and things like that. I'll be doing power over Ethernet to the video cameras that I'll be mounting around the outside of the bus eventually. So anyhow, that's it for tonight. I'm going to get on out of here. Okay, so I'm back at the bus again. I finished up the right-hand side yesterday. I'm going to actually move those terminal blocks to the right side panel over there in the center, and those will serve the left side. There'll be a set next to the right-hand side set. And then I will be mounting the other terminal block that's right there for the stop, tail, turn, etc. That'll get all mounted right there. There'll be one in the back in the engine bay as well. So, but today's order of business is this left-hand side. I'm going to do what I did on the right side to the left side. Okay, so I've got the first wire started here on the right side. I added the couple of blocks over there. I don't know if you can see them in that shot. The terminal blocks, and pre-printed my labels for these circuits. So anyhow, I'm going to keep running this wire. The terminals came with these bridge clips to basically create the same voltage across all of the pins. And I'm going to install these now because we're basically going to have all the lights on at the same time. And these are clearance and marker, you know, so all these terminals should be joined together. So we'll have two ground blocks and then two positive blocks, red and black. So I'm going to get these put in. All right, so I've got all these bridge clips installed on the other side of the terminal bars. And then I'll be joining the two reds together and the two blacks together with a slightly thicker piece of wire. I'll probably just use a ground wire out of some Romex, or, well, maybe a black and a white out of Romex. So anyway, I'll get back at wiring the right-hand side lights at this point. Just figured I'd share how those bridge clips got put on. All right, so I got the screwdriver stuck through the wall for the intermediate clearance light on this side, so I'm going to tape some wires to that screwdriver and pull it back out. Okay, so I taped the wire to the screwdriver. What I do is I push it in a little bit from this side, and then I'll go outside and kind of pull it through. But that'll get the wires fed through the hole, and then from there I can backtrack to the terminal block and cut it at the right length. Another thing I haven't showed is how I'm doing the spools. This came off the bus mirrors. It's just a piece of metal rod. I have it going through the spools. Right now I'm using red and black. But in essence I can pull, if it cooperates, I can pull and both spools kind of come without having the wire unwind everywhere. So that's the best method for doing the unraveling of the wires without making a mess. Okay, so I have all the wires on the left and right run to these terminal blocks. All I have to do now when I get the lights is install them outside, and provided these wires all have continuity, we'll be good to go. I will just run the connection from the box in the front up there by the driver area, the electronic box. I'll run wires for ground and for the clearance and marker light switch up into these blocks, and we should be good to go at that point. Okay, so I finished the right side wires, and then I put some wire loom on it to go below the floor here and up a little bit. I need to buy more wire loom to do the sides here, but I'm done for the night. I've got all the wires terminated, so it's a pretty good couple hours of work here. Okay, so I've gotten an after dark start here. It's snowing outside. I'm gonna wire up the tail lights and stop lights from the front to the back, basically, with the two terminal boxes, the color-coded ones. One will be mounted up front here, and one will be mounted in the engine bay. So that's what I'm gonna get at right now. Okay, so I'm back at the bus here. It's already dark.
Winter's not my favorite for this reason, but probably can't see anything except maybe that tree. There's the bus. I'm going to start working inside. Got to go turn the lights on. But it's going to be a very productive week. I've taken the week of Thanksgiving off, so I'm going to work every day that I can on the bus, and I should be able to make some good progress. So anyhow, right now I'm going to probably set up some work lights outside and drill for rivets in the front so I can finish painting while the weather's nice. It's in the 60s right now, so maybe I'll get some painting done tomorrow. But right now I'm going to plug stuff in so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do right now is just move these boxes over to this side. So that'll be an easy thing to take care of. Alright, so I've moved these panels over closer to the side door. That'll allow more room for the sink. So I think we'll be in a much better position with these where they're at now. Alright, so I got some additional wire loom, and I'm going to put this side in that loom at this point, coming down to there. And then I'm also going to add some loom here to extend this up, and then I'll be bracketing with some single-sided wire hanging brackets. I'll be bracketing the wire loom to the wall here. Okay, so for the automotive lighting, I've got that additional loom wrapped around. I've got it bracketed to the backer board. And then I cleaned it up a little bit going down. You kind of see it peeking over here. I've got it strapped in the middle to keep it in place. Now I'm going to run the loom up these loose wires on the right side of the bus. Okay, so I've run up the side of the wall here. Now I'm headed toward the back of the bus with the wire loom on this right hand side. Alright, so I've got the wire loom run on the back right here. Now I'm going to continue up here to the front, and I'll be done with the automotive loom for the most part. There might be a spot or two I put some onto, but for right now I'll be done. Alright, so I got the wire loom all the way to the front here. And I think at this point, I'm going to be done for the night. So I'll get at it tomorrow pretty early. And like I said, I have a whole week here of Thanksgiving to devote to getting a lot done. So hopefully by the end of the week, I'll have walls up. That's my plan. Okay, so back at the bus here on Saturday morning. Well, it's actually a little afternoon. Just picked up 14 sheets of CDX plywood here. These are 3/4. They will become the walls for the most part in the bus, and I went with 3/4 so I could recess the rivets that are going to hold these to the hat channels. The idea here is that I'm going to put the C side out, the nicer side, and then I will parge it later with something to make it smooth, sand it a little bit, and get it painted. Most of the walls are going to probably be an off-white to reflect the maximum amount of light inside the bus. We'll probably have some wood accents, some stained accents, but mostly the walls will be white. The floor is going to be fairly dark. The flooring we got's like a brown composite Armstrong wood flooring. So anyhow, I'm going to get at it here. Alright, so I tidied up the pavilion a good bit here in the middle. Got the trailer pulled in to stay out of the elements with the plywood on it. At this point, I think I'm going to try to get organized with all this incredible mess of stuff. Try to start throwing some stuff away that I'm not going to need, and so on and so forth. So anyway, that's what I'm up to. Okay, so I located the wiring harness that I had removed before for all the rear turn signals and so on. It plugs into one that also has the clearance light wiring. So we're going to plug that in, and we'll punch it down on this block here, or put ring terminals on it. From here we'll extend to the back of the bus. Okay, so the light's fading here. Trying to tidy up this pavilion, get all my stuff organized, and pitch stuff I don't need. It's just chaos over here. To be able to cut plywood for the walls, I need some workspace. So this is going to be it. I just got to get it to where I can use it. Okay, so I'm back at the bus. I think what I'm going to do right now is finish getting the front panels riveted. So I've got to drill holes from the inside and then use 1/4 inch rivets from the outside with a little bit of caulk. After that, I can hit it with the wire wheel and get it painted on a nice day. So as long as there's dry weather and reasonable temperature. So anyhow, that's what I'm going to do today. Okay, so it's our old friend the riveter. Drilling some holes here in the side, getting them caulked. I'll be removing the bolts I previously used, the 1/4 inch bolts, and replacing those with rivets. Okay, so my phone ran out of battery yesterday pretty much right away. Thought I had it charged, but it didn't. So anyway, I missed some of what I was doing here. I've got the rivets put in on the panel there, and I'm coming around removing 1/4 inch bolts and putting rivets in the front here. And after I get this front riveted, I'm planning on hitting it with the wire wheel and putting a coat of primer on it. I got to check the forecast to make sure we're not getting any significant rain, at least for a few hours after painting. So that's what I'm up to. After that, I'm going to start cutting wood in the pavilion to the right size for the walls, and I'm going to spray foam at some point today in the cracks on the insulation so I can start putting this wood in place. Okay, so I've almost finished the riveting. I'm doing the last bit here, putting some rivets in this bottom part of this gray panel. After that, I'll be able to trim the bottom of these panels flush with the top of the window, and then I will use the angle grinder with the wire wheel to clean all this up and get ready to paint it. So I just use magnets to hold that in place and then put it out of my way. But I'll have this in red oxide primer hopefully before the end of the day here. Okay, I think I might be absolutely done riveting the bus skin, unless I've missed one somewhere that I just haven't found yet. I did get the 5 rivets up here that I had marked before with the white paint. So I thought there was one I missed on the other side, but haven't been able to see it yet. So I might encounter one more 1/4 inch rivet that I need to deal with as I prep for the paint job later. But I think I'm done with rivets. It's kind of a big deal. I don't know if I have one up there or not. I think I got that one too. Yeah, I think there might be one up there. I'll have to look. Okay, so I have the wire wheel out. I'm going to scuff up the front top here, and we'll get a coat of paint on it. Well, I also need to trim that bottom edge still with that cutoff wheel there. I'll have to mark a line and be careful about it. Okay, so I'm grinding, getting lots of Sikaflex dust all over everything. We'll blow that off after I'm done grinding, but trying to get this surface scuffed up for paint. Okay, so I'm about to trim this excess metal off the edge at the bottom here. I've used magnets to hold up a welding blanket so that the angle grinder sparks do not damage the windshield. So hopefully that works out good. Now I'm going to use a straight edge to draw the line for cutting and get started on the cut. Okay, so I have the cut taped off with some duct tape just to create kind of a edge to cut against. So I'm going to carefully cut the bottom of that strip of metal off. Okay, so I've trimmed that bottom edge. Now it's going to be time for a coat of primer. I believe what I'm going to do is actually put some kind of a cap over that edge at some point. Maybe a bent piece of stainless steel or something, just to hide the roughness of the edge. So that'll come later, but right now I'm going to prime this. Okay, so I'm almost halfway through painting the front here at the top, so I'm going to keep at it and hopefully finish before it gets dark out. Okay, so paint hides a multitude of sins. I got some primer up. My plan for that bulge out creased part is to hit it with a hammer at some point, bang it in a little bit and fill it with a skim coat of putty. Try to level it out some. But I'm also
Still thinking about the idea of putting a rack up above the windshield, just to store things like jerry cans, or I don't know, it's just a thought. Or maybe that'll be where the outdoor unit goes for the mini split. I might shield it with something. Having some thoughts about that, but anyway, it's primed. The whole bus is primed except for the roof. So I'm calling it quits for the day, losing my daylight.